Thank Flux, it's Friday. I'm Ollie Pickup, a human work evolution storyteller, and today, May the 1st, is a really significant date in human work evolution history. Why? Well, 140 years ago, in 1886, there was a nationwide strike in America where about 350,000 workers left their jobs and wanted better working conditions, fewer hours. They had a really simple tagline on their placard. It was 8 hours of work, 8 hours of rest, 8 hours for what we will. And Chicago became the epicenter for this. About 40,000 workers went on strike there on May the 1st, 1886. It was radical then. You have to bear in mind that people were working up to 16-hour days, 6 days a week then. And this idea of doing fewer hours, 8-hour shifts, was not well received by many. A couple of days after the initial strike, 4 workers were killed by the police in Chicago, and the day after that in Haymarket Square there were bombs, and anarchists ended up killing workers and police. It actually set back the movement, and it wasn't until 40 years later, which is exactly 100 years ago, Henry Ford standardized the 5-day working week with a 2-day weekend that became eventually enshrined in law in 1938 in America and was used elsewhere around the world. Ford had this realization that he wanted his workers well rested. After 2 days, he gave them the same amount of pay, and we have a lot to thank Henry Ford for in that regard. But that was 100 years ago. We've still got the 5-day working week. There are books like this one from Joe O'Connor and Jared Linson, thinking more about the 4-day working week. And back then, Henry Ford, it was all about factories. Lots of AI can do the grunt work now, if you like, and perhaps we can focus on the more creative, the more fun aspects of our job. And I think you can have a 4-day working week and be just as productive. And this is important because we're still not adhering to this. We are still working generally too hard and for too long. A couple of weeks ago, there was an International Labour Organization study that found over 1 in 3 workers is putting in over 48 hours a week. The Japanese even have a word for death by overwork, karoshi. Let's make sure we're not overworking. At the same time, let's be focused and purposeful in our work. I guess the question for 2026 is whether we're brave enough to make the next move, following on from those martyrs back 140 years ago. Stay fluxed.